Graham, obviously sad news this morning about Walter Smith, a man who you knew and played under.
Yeah, just found out 20 minutes ago, to be honest, from Alan, who just rang through because he knew how much Walter impacted my career. And yeah, it's terrible news, terrible. I knew, everyone knew he'd been ill this year. I didn't realise to what extent, but just fantastic memories of the man for me. He was one of he sent me a great message when I came up here to work at Motherwell. Fantastic man to think of me at that time. I owe the resurgence of my Scotland career to him, who he called me up after a while out of the squad, and I had without doubt my best spell as a Scotland player playing for Walter. Brilliant man, first and foremost, from my experience of him, how he was on the human side of it, how he treated everybody, and I mean everybody, not just the players, but absolutely everyone who had the pleasure of being in his company. And but to play under him was an absolute privilege, because to actually just getting picked by Walter, almost thought I'd won already, because it was an achievement just to be picked by him. And it's terrible news.
A few of us dealt with Walter as a manager, journalist and manager, but as a coach to play under, what was he like? What are some of your kind of memories of that?
I just remember how, and I'll be honest, I still use my experience under him in part of my management career, because he made it really clear for the players. He had full belief in his players, but he almost. I just remember that the standout game for me was when we played France at Hampden, and he basically read a script for how the game would go. Possibly not with us winning, but us giving us the best chance of winning. And the game panned out exactly how he described it could do if we did our jobs right. And how composed he was at half time and before the game, and how relaxed we were going into that game. And I just remember how he gave us just full belief in ourselves, and we knew we had his full belief in us. And I also come back into the squad after a period out, and I think he called me up at, which was an awkward time. It was in the summer and everything, but I think I was desperate to play, and I think he sort of repaid. He treated me like he owed me something, and he didn't. He didn't at all. And but he stuck with me for the whole time he was Scotland manager when I played with him, because he knew how much I put into it, and he was like that with all the players. But and it was brilliant. You walked into the Scotland squad, and I didn't know Walter before that. I'd heard about him obviously, and he was the first I felt. I used to think aura wasn't real, and then I played under Walter, and then I understood what it was about. And then I could, you see, he didn't even have to talk or say anything, but you knew he was there, and then everyone was looking for him and waiting for him to talk to you. And a fantastic man. I've met him a couple of times on coaching courses when I was trying to get my qualifications, and a couple of things down south, and just a brilliant man, brilliant, and a pure football man. That's I think every young coach, player or aspiring manager will look up to people like that and say, that's what I aspire to be. And yes, like I say, it's a sad day for me. It's a sad day for everyone, I would guess, in the football world, and certainly in the Scottish world.
What do you think of a man like Walter sits, not only in Scottish football, but in British football, as a legend?
Well, he is a legend, and that word does get thrown about a lot. But you look at his career. For me personally, it's not what he achieved. Because I personally knew him at a limited time. It was just sometimes you say you don't meet your heroes, I don't know that, but it was just brilliant to be around him at any time, or if he, like when he took the time to send me a message when I came up here. You know, I obviously played under Walter for, I don't know, maybe 12, 13, 14 years. And it meant so much to me that he took the time just to do that. And it was brilliant. But so it's more as a man, but certainly, you know, I don't have to talk about what he achieved in football, in Scottish football. I think you know, it's there for everyone to see. You know, and I think he's probably one of the few men, you know, other people say, but one of the few football men that crossed the divide in Glasgow, where I think the respect, you know, regardless of rivalry, the respect was from both sides because of how he was as a man and what he achieved.
In terms of his footballing prowess, I mean, it's the measure of the man that so many people who have crossed his paths in terms of players like yourself are now in a position in management. Do you think that's also a side of Walter that many people didn't see, that sort of mentor side who has brought on so many players, coaches, and made everyone really sounded with him? Yeah,
I think I was really fortunate because obviously everyone knew of Walter, and I didn't have the opportunity to play under him or work with him or anything until he picked me for Scotland. And you see him from afar, and you see him as quite an intimidating figure, I would say, before I met him, and a daunting figure because of what he achieved, but he's probably the way he was in his public way. But when you saw him in the change room or in the hotel in Scotland games, laughing his head off at Coisty and Tam Burns and the group we had there, and in training, it'd be really jovial and that. But then as soon as it came to game time, it went serious, and but without the side of overpowering the players. Honestly, he had it absolutely perfect, how to manage a big group of players that all wanted to play, all wanted to be successful. I'm sure that, well, I know there's a lot of people who played under him for years at Rangers will know miles better than me. But honestly, I was devastated when he left the Scotland job because it was brilliant to go. But it doesn't compare to what I feel now that he's unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, you talk about crossing the divide, and you mentioned Tommy Burns there. It was a great story that the two of them had been rivals as old firm managers, and then years later became great pals. It must have been great to kind of see from the inside them interacting with each other. Yeah,
honestly, it was a genius move from him, really, to. Because that was it. I think the Scotland squad at the time was quite fractured, and the whole international scene was difficult. I thought he absolutely brought everyone together, and I noticed that from the time previous in the squad to when I came back into it. There was no separation at all. I think a big part of that was having Alan McCoist and Sam Burns as his coaches. That, you know, there was no one way or the other. Everyone was together. It was a brilliant atmosphere. It was super. People couldn't wait to get there. You know, we were looking forward to it, just to be around. Players that weren't playing just loved being around, and it was, you know, it was a little bit divisive before that, but I think doing that and how he interacted with them, it was a genius move, and it 100% worked. And I think, you know, even, you know, when you talk about Tam, that was a similar sort of scenario. I think he had the respect of the other side as well because of how they were as people. They were passionate about the club, you know, passionate about it, but I think they had a respect that transcended that, and that's why they were so respected in the world of football. And it's you know, it's a sad day because we've lost one of the greats.
What sort of legacy do you think he leaves behind, both for people who saw him play, people who played, worked under him, but also for people who perhaps didn't see him managing, didn't see how he worked? What does he leave behind?
Well, yeah, that's the you know, I think with the passing time, that's, you know, new generations come in and people go further in the distance. But you know, what he did in Scottish football and for the national team will be there forever. You know, that's the reality. You know, beating France at Hampden, you know, was a monumental result at the time, and you know, that will forever be. It's still talked about now, and it's 15 years down the line. But you know, what he achieved with Rangers in 2 spells. His second one probably a lot more difficult than his first one, but still achieved success. And I just met, on the coaching course as well, and he would talk honestly about, his time at Rangers, but also about the time at Everton, which didn't go as well for him, but he understood why it didn't, and he passed that on to us as young coaches and managers about, the need to sort of try and judge where the club is and the owners and all that sort of stuff. So he didn't just talk about his time, his successful time at Rangers. He also talked about the difficulties of managing other clubs. So he was just one of those sort of worldly wise figures that even the really experienced people would seek his advice. So not just younger managers like myself or young coach, but even the senior figures in football would speak to him about bits and pieces, because he had such great knowledge, great communication skills, and just a genius of a man, really.
St Mirren then, I suppose. Huge game for you off the back of the weekend. Your thoughts on it?
I keep hearing this, huge game, big game. But it's said every week. So for us, every game's extremely important, and we're looking forward to it. I think I still stand by what I said at the weekend, that we played really well. We deserve more from the game, but we understand that the game is about scoring more than the opposition, which we didn't manage to do. So we have to improve some of the details at both ends. But our general play was really good. Our approach to the game was really good, and we're looking for a repeat performance with the finishing touches about how you win games, and that's about defending your goal as best you can, and obviously taking the opportunities that you get at the other end. So watched St Mirren on Sunday. Good team, played them more than any other team last season in my spell, and so got to know their strengths, and but they know ours as well. So it's a good game. I think the players are in a good place, but we know the challenge in front of us.
Squad come through Saturday, all right for tomorrow?
Yes, yep. We have everyone available that was available on Saturday, so that's great for us. We need to maintain that strength in depth, because we need to be able to rotate our team, or replace players during the game, or for certain aspects. So the stronger and more players we have available, then the better we are. So it's good. They trained exceptionally well yesterday when we came in, and we've got prepared today for a tough challenge. But I believe, I'll look at my players, look at their body language, look at how they're interacting with each other. They're in a really good place.